Hello, my name's Paul Borman. I'm an executive coach to some of the most senior people in the world and a business psychologist. In this online program, I'll share with you some of the common issues that my clients bring to me and the advice that I give them to help overcome these issues. There'll be written exercises to complete, and most importantly, actions to take back in your workplace. One of the most common issues that my clients bring to me revolves around their management of their people and just how much of their own time they have to give to support people who are not quite able to excel at their role. Quite often it's because the individual themselves has stepped up to a more senior level and they see the performance of their subordinates and compare it to their own and feel they need to keep on spending time almost doing the job of their people for them. And then they end up being trapped working with their people on their performance rather than stepping up and doing their own job. This initial issue of delegation is probably the most common thing that anyone ever talks to a coach about. One of the things that I suggest that my clients read is a paper written in the 1970s actually by two characters, Onken and Ras, in the Harvard Business Review. In this paper, Onken and Ras discuss several types of time that people use, but they pay particular attention to what they called subordinate controlled time. Now this is exactly what it sounds like. It's all the time in the day which in some way or another your direct reports are controlling what you're doing rather than the other way around. If you're an approachable, conscientious and helpful boss, then I'm sure that you're ready to support your people and answer their questions. And Onken and Ras weren't concerned about you giving this time. What they were concerned about was how you used it. To bring the dilemma to life, they decided to describe every question or problem that your direct report brings to you as some kind of monkey. Some of them are cute little capuchins, while others are big, hairy, scary gorillas. In my experience, there's been three main different ways in which the leaders I work with handle being brought monkeys or problems by their subordinates. The first type of manager sees themselves as being incredibly helpful and broad-shouldered, and when somebody brings them the monkey, they say, just give it to me. I'll look after this for you. If you've got a problem with that project, don't worry about it. I will take it off your hands. It is no longer your responsibility. I will take and look after your monkey. These managers can be very popular and nice to work for because they clearly take all your problems off you. But they then end up with a problem of their own, which is an office full of other people's monkeys. They take on board all of the issues of their people. And they can feel pretty good about themselves for doing so because they're taking on so many issues, solving so many problems. The problem is they're not having any time left to do their own job. Then there's a second type of person who's too smart to take the monkey off the person but still wants to be really helpful. And their response is often to feed the hungry monkey while the person's in the room and then send them away afterwards. So you go to this boss with the problem and the boss uses their knowledge and expertise or maybe even their contacts to solve that problem that you have in the room, but then send you away again to carry on with the project. They don't take the ownership away from the person, but they prove to be pivotal in solving it. That sounds like quite a good thing to do and a helpful way to be a boss, but there's a problem with this one too. And that is next time the monkey gets hungry, in other words, next time the project hits a barrier, then the subordinate has to come back again for another feeding session. That type of manager has bred dependence on themselves for solving all the difficult issues. So then there's the third type of person. The third type of person uses a tougher, slower method, but it's one that ultimately pays dividends. When the monkey gets brought to them, they don't take it on board, they don't feed it, but they do have a conversation with the person that teaches them to feed their own monkeys. They invest the time in coaching and guidance that allows the person to figure out for themselves what they need to do to overcome the problem. This takes a bit of a while, but the benefit is next time an issue arises, the subordinate already knows how to solve the problem. So I think it's worth reflecting on yourself. What do you do when people bring you issues from below? Do you heroically take the monkey off them and fill your office with other people's problems? Are you the pivotal saviour who has the answer to every question and everybody needs to come to you to figure out the problems? Or have you learnt to invest the time in teaching people to feed their own monkeys? The other thing that this story reminds me of is just how much of our lives can be interruption driven. This disruptive way of working makes it hard for some of the big important thinking which may be necessary for fulfilling your purpose. So I'm now going to show you a really simple technique for running your weekly one-on-ones with your direct reports to help solve the interruption issue and hold people to account. The technique that I'm going to show you now involves notebooks like this. Many people have them, sometimes they're slightly bigger, and sometimes people don't have them at all and they use electronic means. The important thing about this method though is not having a notebook, it's having a notebook per person. Each one of your direct reports will have their own individual one. That allows you to keep every meeting that you have with that person adjacent to each other in the book. When you come to the end of one meeting, you line up on the left-hand side of the page all of the actions and decisions that you have agreed with that person. And then that means that the next time you meet with them, it's there, right in front of you, what you discussed last time. You can see, and more importantly, they can see, that anything that we have agreed and discussed is taken seriously and will be come back to. The other thing that you can do with this is use it as a way of saving up some of those interruptions, some of that subordinate controlled time that is eating away at your diary. Now, when somebody sends you an email saying, "Hey boss, can we talk about a course that I can go on?" You can say, "Yeah, sure, I'll put it in your notebook." And you add it in the space ready for the next meeting. Your subordinate begins to learn to trust that when they raise things with you, they will get discussed. You don't need to keep on interrupting your time to answer every little question that comes along. Equally, through the week, you may think of something that you need to discuss. Again, you needn't be interrupted. You can make a note in the book ready for your next meeting. You'll find a reminder of this technique in your worksheet, so why don't you try it out with one of your employees just to start with and see how it goes. And if it works with one of them, you can always extend it to the rest of your team.